Hunger in the dust. The market of Telsar 9 was loud, bright, and crowded. Aliens from many worlds traded food, parts, and weapons under the hot twin suns. Traders shouted prices. Children laughed and ran. But not everyone came to buy. Some came, only to survive. A small figure moved quickly between the stalls. She wore a torn gray cloak too thin for her tall frame. Her eyes were large and tired. Her skin, a soft purple shade, showed deep lines of worry. This was Vera, a mother from the fallen planet Eloria. In her arms, she held her baby, barely, breathing, small and weak. Vera had no credits. She had no friends. Her planet was destroyed in a war, and now she lived as a refugee on this metal world. Her baby had not eaten in 2 days. She had begged. She had cried. No one helped. Her baby made a soft sound, a dry, painful whimper. Vera looked at a fruit stall nearby. One food capsule could give the baby strength, just one. The seller, a tall lizard-like alien, looked away to yell at another customer. In that moment, Vera reached out, snatched a small capsule, and turned to run, but the scanner beeped. "Thief!" The stall owner screamed. "Guards, catch her!" Security bots rolled toward her. A red alarm flashed across the market. Shoppers stepped back. Some laughed. Some cursed her. One threw a piece of metal that hit her shoulder. Vera ran, her arms wrapped around her baby, the stolen food pressed to her chest. The bots were fast. She tripped, fell to her knees, but stood again. She turned into a small alley, but it was a dead end. She stopped, breathing hard, back against the wall. She covered her baby's face. Her hands shook. The bots arrived. Their weapons buzzed, aimed at her. Drop the stolen item. Surrender or be neutralized. The crowd watched from the main street. No one moved. No one cared. She was just another refugee. Then from the side, a figure stepped out of the crowd. A tall human man wearing a simple jacket and dusty boots. He walked calmly between the bots and Vera. His voice was quiet but clear. "She's not your problem anymore." The bots turned toward him. "Citizens, stand back. This is not your concern." But the man didn't move. He looked at the alien mother, then at her baby. He took a small chip from his pocket and placed it on the ground in front of the bots. It glowed green. "Here's triple the cost of what she took. Now leave." The bots paused. They scanned the chip. The stall owner pushed through the crowd, angry. "She broke the law. She must be punished." The human's voice changed. Still quiet but sharp now. "Take the chip, or try your luck with me." The stall owner looked at the man's face and stepped back. The bots processed the payment, beeped once, and rolled away. The crowd slowly started to move again, but many still stared. The human turned to Vera. She looked up at him, too shocked to speak. He crouched beside her and opened his bag. Inside were packets of food, water, and small tools. Without a word, he handed her more capsules, a clean cloth and a small energy blanket for the baby. Vera couldn't understand. She had seen many humans before, but none like him. Most humans kept their distance. Some were cruel, others afraid. This one, he helped, not with words but with action. She tried to speak. "Why?" The man looked at her baby. No one should suffer just for needing to eat. Then he stood and walked away, disappearing into the market. No name. No thanks. Just silence. Vera sat there, holding her baby and the food. She fed her, child with shaking hands. The baby's eyes opened slowly. Life returned little by little. Tears fell down Vera's cheeks, not from fear, not from pain, but from something she had not felt in a long time, hope. And from that day the traders whispered of a human who did not follow the rules of war or trade, a human who stepped in when no one else dared. They didn't know his name. They called him only one thing, the man who paid for the hungry. And Vera? She would never forget him, because that one moment, one man, changed her world forever. The human's eyes, the story of the strange human spread through the market like wind through dry leaves. Some laughed, some doubted, and others lowered their voices when they spoke about him. A man with calm eyes who stood before bots like they were nothing. A man who gave food to a refugee thief and then vanished. But Vera could not forget him. She sat in a dark corner of an old loading dock, her baby asleep on a blanket made from stitched rags. The baby's breathing was stronger now. The stolen moment of kindness had become their lifeline. Yet questions swirled in her mind like dust in the heat. Who was he? Why did he help her? What did he want? Vera was not foolish. On Eloria, before war burned everything, she had been a teacher. She knew every gift had a cost. She knew predators wore soft faces. But this human had asked for nothing. He didn't even look back. That night, as cold winds blew across Telsar 9's broken buildings, she decided to follow him. It wasn't hard. He didn't hide. He walked through the darkest zones of the city with quiet steps. No fear, no weapon visible. The gangs didn't approach him. Even the bots seemed to avoid his path. He stopped often, to give a tool to a broken-down mech, to hand water to a coughing child, or to leave small packages near trash piles where the poor slept. But never did he speak much, and never did he stay long. Vera watched from behind rusted beams and shadows. Her baby clung to her chest, silent now. She memorized the way the man walked, the way he watched the sky when no one looked, the way he paused before each act of kindness, as if remembering something, or someone. She followed him to the edge of Sector D-17. That was strange. No one went there anymore. It was a forgotten place, bombed during the old rebellion. Only wreckage remained. Yet the man passed through twisted metal like he had been here before. He stopped at a bunker door. It was buried under fallen beams and vines, but he pushed it open with ease. Light spilled out, soft and blue. Vera moved closer, hiding behind a fallen shuttle. She waited until he went inside, then crept forward. She peeked through a crack. What she saw was not what she expected. Inside, the bunker had been cleaned. There were stacked supplies, healing machines, and even a water recycler. A small fire glowed in a corner. On the walls, pictures hung, old photos of human soldiers, alien children, and destroyed cities. There was a symbol carved into metal. Not military, not rebel. It was a child's hand holding a broken helmet. The human sat down at a table. He took off his jacket. His arms were covered in scars, burn marks, laser wounds, and old battle lines. He moved slowly, carefully, like someone who had lived through too much pain. But his eyes, they were calm. Too calm. Vera stepped back into the dark. She didn't go in. She didn't call to him. She returned to the dock in silence. The next day, Vera found something outside her hiding place. Food, medicine, and a fresh blanket. No note. Just a small patch from a soldier's uniform folded inside. It had the letters, CN-47. Vera held the patch in her hand for a long time. This human had seen war. He had lost something deep, maybe even everything, and yet he helped. Others, not loudly, not proudly, but quietly, like it was the only thing that still made sense. She whispered to her baby, "We are not alone anymore." In the days that followed, others began to speak of the human. A broken machine that started working again. A sick trader who woke up healed. A missing child returned with a blanket and warm food. Always the same story. No face, no name. But Vera had seen him. And in his eyes, she didn't see mercy. She saw something stronger. A choice. A silent decision that helping was not kindness, it was duty. Something had changed in this man long ago, and now he was changing others. One act at a time, a past covered in fire. Before he was the quiet man who walked dusty alleys, before he handed food to starving aliens and vanished into ruins, he had another name. A name the galaxy once feared, a name now erased from records, spoken only in war stories. But he had buried that identity long ago along with the uniform, the medals, and the screams. His name was Connor. Years before he stepped in front of the security bots, Connor stood in fire. He had been a soldier, one of Earth's best, trained to survive where others fell, sent to planets so broken even machines refused to land. He didn't ask questions. He followed orders. Fight, win, survive. And he always did. On the planet Varos 3, Connor's team was sent to cleanse a rebel base hidden in the jungle valleys. But the rebels were not soldiers. They were refugees, fleeing. A war they hadn't started. Connor realized too late. He remembered the smell of burning leaves, the high scream of alien children, the cold silence in his helmet as his commander said, "Target neutralized." That mission broke something inside him. One refugee survived. That day, a young alien girl with green eyes, maybe 6 years old. She stood between Connor and his exit shuttle, blood on her face, holding her brother's hand. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She just stared. Connor didn't raise his weapon. He carried her out of the jungle himself. He took a bullet doing it. When the medics saw her, they called it treason. But Connor didn't care. For the first time, he had saved someone instead of destroying everything in sight. The military tried to bury the event. They said it was a mistake, gave him a medal, a title, then quietly discharged him. Honorably, of course. He didn't go home. Instead, he vanished from Earth and slipped through trade routes and war zones. He went where the pain lived, where the forgotten children slept in crates, where dying mothers had to steal, where people looked like enemies just because of their skin, eyes, or species. There he found purpose, not in war, not in peace treaties, but in single, quiet actions. Fix a broken arm, feed a hungry mouth, teach a child to walk again. No cameras, no medals, just survival, hope, and hands that helped instead of hurt. Back on Telsar 9, in the quiet of the bunker, Connor sat in front of a small cracked screen. He replayed an old transmission, years old, grainy, filled with static. "Thank you," a young alien voice said. "You didn't kill me." He never erased it. It played once every night before he slept. Outside, the wind howled. The city was full of smoke again. Another protest, another crackdown. But he didn't move. He just stared at the message, fingers tight around a rusted dog tag. Elsewhere, Vera sat in the shadows, watching the stars, through a hole in the ceiling. Her baby slept soundly now, cheeks full, eyes calm. She thought about the man again. She had asked herself why a human would help someone like her. Now, she started to wonder something else. What kind of past did he carry that made him care so deeply for strangers? And what had he lost that made helping others the only thing keeping him alive? The market had already forgotten. The guards had moved on. But not Vera. She remembered everything. And somehow, she knew his story was far from over. Shelter in the shadows, the city had begun to whisper. Not loud, not clear, but quiet, cautious voices in corners and alleys. They spoke of a human ghost who walked like smoke and disappeared like breath in winter. A man who never asked for thanks, who fixed broken things and left before the sun rose. They didn't know his name. Most never saw his face. But the desperate ones, those on the edge of hope, called him the Quiet Flame. Vera didn't need whispers. She had seen him with her own eyes. Days had passed since he saved her, since he fed her child and walked away. But he had not vanished. She knew where. He went now, Sector D-17, forgotten, bombed, dead, except it wasn't. Each night Vera followed from a distance. She never called out, never asked for more. She simply watched. He moved like he belonged to no world. His steps were steady, eyes sharp. He wasn't just surviving. He was building something, and he was not alone. One evening, Vera saw him lead 2 young alien boys into the bunker. One limped badly. The other had bandages wrapped over his eyes. They didn't speak. They just followed him, trusting him without reason. That night, the stars above the bunker flickered, and for the first time in years, smoke rose from its vents. Warm. Smoke, cooking smoke. Vera waited until the boys came out, full and laughing. She stepped forward and gently handed one a scrap of fruit. "Was he kind?" she asked. The younger boy nodded. "He fixed my brother's legs. Gave us boots." "Did he tell you his name?" The boy shook his head. "He said names don't matter. Only choices." Vera's heart tightened. Who was this man? A soldier? A healer? A ghost? Later, Vera returned to her own small shelter. Her baby slept peacefully now, growing stronger, but inside her, new questions burned. The next day, she left something outside the bunker, a carved wooden toy from her home planet. A thank you, a memory, a promise. She didn't expect a reply, but when she returned the next night, the toy was gone. In its place, a small flask of healing balm sat neatly on a folded cloth. On it, a note. For the child. Keep walking. No name, no signature, just 4 simple words that told her everything, and so Vera kept walking. She followed his path, not just with her feet, but with her spirit. When she saw a hungry face, she shared. When she saw a broken machine, she tried to fix it. When others looked away, she looked closer. Not because she was brave, because someone else had looked at her when the world didn't care. And that kind of kindness, it lights fires in others. Now the flame was spreading. In broken corners of Telsar 9, alien children started helping one another. A refugee girl gave her only blanket to a stranger's baby. A wounded miner shared his rations with a rival. A junk trader repaired a stranger's water line for free. No one said it out loud, but they all knew. The human had started it. And in the bunker under the city's forgotten bones, Connor sat quietly in the dark, reading a map filled with red marks and broken lines. Every mark was a place of pain. Every line was a path to someone left behind. He touched one spot near the edge and whispered, "Soon." Because the quiet flame was never meant to stay in one place. It was meant to move, to burn, to remind the galaxy that even in the coldest shadows, someone still cared. The trap set with tears. It began with a scream, not a loud one, not sharp, but small, tired and muffled by dust. A child's cry in the middle of a cracked road near the edge of the old war zone. Anyone else would have ignored it. Another orphan, another beggar. But Vera heard it and she stopped. The cry came from behind a pile of scrap metal. She leaned closer, her instincts sharp now, ever since she'd started walking the quiet flames path. She pulled back a broken panel and found a young creature, barely. More than a toddler, shaking, covered in oil and dirt, eyes wide with fear. But there was something wrong, too clean, too staged. The child was bait. A sharp hiss echoed nearby. Vera turned just in time to see movement on the rooftops, thin metal limbs, glinting eyes, and the unmistakable sound of a tracker drone. Not the city's bots. No, these were hunters, the kind used to find old war criminals, hidden rebels, or ghosts who helped too many people. Someone was hunting the human. She scooped up the child and ran. The drone gave chase, silent and fast. It didn't shoot. It didn't speak. It simply followed. Back in Sector D-17, Connor was repairing an old water pipe when he froze. His senses were still sharp after all these years. He felt the shift in the air. He turned toward the alley just as Vera rushed in, child in arms, eyes wide with alarm. "They're coming," she panted. "Not the city's bots. Real ones. They're not after me. They're after you." Connor didn't speak. He didn't need to. He reached for a panel on the wall, pressed a hidden button, and metal shields dropped over the bunker's main doors. Lights dimmed. Energy flowed through wires like blood in veins. Inside this bunker, he had prepared for many things, but he hadn't prepared for betrayal. Elsewhere in the market, whispers had changed tone. Someone had talked, maybe for food, maybe out of fear. Maybe just because they didn't believe a man like that could be real. And if he was, they didn't want the trouble. Connor stood over a console. His hands moved fast. Cameras flicked to life. Dozens of red dots appeared on the screen. "They're not just after me," he said at last. "They're after everyone I've helped." Vera's breath caught. "But that's dozens of people." "More," he said quietly. "Too many." She stared at him, then stepped forward. "We can't let them take you." He looked at her, really looked. The mother who once stole food just to keep her child alive, now standing like a shield between him and the threat. But it was already too late. The first explosion hit the edge of Sector D-17. A flare lit the sky. Panic spread. Connor opened a locker. Inside was his old armor, gray, worn, but still intact. He hadn't touched it in years, but now the past had come for him. He pulled it on without a word. Vera watched as the man transformed, not into a soldier but something else, not a ghost, not a savior, something sharper. "I don't want to kill anyone," he said as he locked the chest plate. "You don't have to," Vera said. "You just have to stay standing." He looked at her one last time. "Take the children. Go to the tunnel under the fire vents. I left maps. It's safe." "What about you?" He paused. "I'm not running anymore." Then he stepped out into the ash-choked air, where the hunters were waiting. They expected a ghost. They didn't expect a man with nothing to lose, and everything to protect. The man who didn't fall. The sky burned red as the first hunter stepped. Into Sector D-17, metal legs hissed. Red eyes scanned. Behind it, more followed. 6, no, 10. Precision machines, cold fast, built to end what war left behind. They weren't looking for a soldier. They were looking for a myth. But what they found was Connor. He stood alone in the center of the ruined plaza, between a broken statue and the old marketplace gates. He didn't hide. He didn't run. He wore no helmet. Only the faded armor from a war most had forgotten, and a small symbol stitched to his shoulder, a child's hand holding a broken helmet. The machines paused. They calculated. Their programming told them this was not a threat. Their programming was wrong. The first one moved, fast, precise, aiming a paralytic dart at his chest. Connor dodged left, grabbed a rusted metal rod from the ground, and slammed it upward with the force of a crashing ship. The rod broke. The bot didn't stand a chance. Sparks flew. The thing crumpled. The second bot fired. Connor ducked, rolled, used the first machine's broken arm as a shield. The dart hit metal. He ran forward, not away, straight into them. It wasn't clean. It wasn't easy. But it was human, raw, angry, and fueled by something stronger than metal. Purpose. Below the battle, Vera and the others moved through the underground escape tunnel. Children in blankets, wounded carried by older hands. Food, rations stuffed into old satchels. Some wept, some prayed, some were silent. All moved because one man told them to. Vera led from the front. She didn't stop, even when the air rumbled and dust fell from the tunnel walls. A young alien girl tugged her sleeve. "Is he coming too?" Vera didn't answer. Back in the plaza, 3 bots circled Connor. One of them tried to analyze his movement. The others flanked him. They never got the chance. Connor slammed a power box on the ground, sending a shockwave through the damaged street wiring. Electricity burst up from under their feet. The bots shuddered, twisted, and fell smoking. He breathed hard now. His side was bleeding, but he stood. He always stood. A voice echoed from a drone above, cold, mechanical, emotionless. "Surrender, human. You are outnumbered." Connor looked up, blood on his lip, dust in his eyes, and smiled. "Good." Then he pulled the last flare from his belt and fired it into the sky. A bright blue light exploded over the sector, and far above, beyond the clouds, beyond the satellites, an old signal was received. 10 hours later, the sky was quiet. Smoke curled gently from broken rooftops. Bots lay in pieces. The streets were still. And Connor was gone. Vera emerged from the hidden exit tunnel, baby in arms, others close behind. What she saw stopped her breath. The plaza was scorched, but the path was clear. No bodies, no bots, no trace of the man they called the Quiet Flame. Only one thing remained: his armor, cracked, darkened, but standing upright, carefully placed against the statue's base. Beside it, his dog tag, and under that, a message carved into stone. Protect what comes next. Vera felt tears sting her eyes. She didn't know if he had lived, or if he had fallen, but she knew this. He gave them time. He gave them hope. And somewhere in the stars, someone had seen that flare. Connor's story wasn't over. It was only burning brighter. When the stars finally answered, a soft blue light shimmered in the sky, faint, fading, but still there. Far above Telsar 9, beyond its polluted clouds and shattered satellites, an ancient satellite blinked awake. It hadn't lit up in years, not since the old wars. But Connor's signal, his final flare, was pre-coded in its memory. It knew the signal, and it knew exactly where to send it. 2 parsecs away, aboard a drifting humanitarian frigate known as the Hearthlight, an Earthborn captain jolted upright in her seat. The coded distress beacon flashed on her screen. She recognized the encryption pattern instantly. Only one man used that signal, a man who vanished a decade ago, a man who should have been dead. Trace it, she said, voice sharp. Her crew scrambled. Coordinates appeared. Telsar 9. She leaned forward. Set course. Emergency jump. Now. Back on the ground, Sector D-17 had turned into something strange. Something new. Not a ruin. Not a battlefield. A home. In the days after the attack, Vera and the others returned from the tunnels. They found the streets quiet, the walls scorched, but the fear was gone. No more patrols, no more bots. Just a strange silence filled with the weight of what had happened. But the biggest surprise wasn't the silence, it was the people. They came from everywhere: scrappers, smugglers, mothers with babies, lost boys who once ran in gangs. Word had spread through the Undercity. The human fought for them. Not with them. For them. He stood alone, and still won. Now they wanted to stand too. Vera stood atop the broken statue where Connor once fought. Her baby in one arm, a hand-drawn flag in the other. The symbol? A flame cradled in 2 hands. She didn't know what to call it yet. A movement, a home, a hope. But it was real. They started rebuilding that day. A school in the old data vault. A food hall where the power station once burned. Children painted walls with stars and suns. No more shadows. Not here. And still, no sign of Connor. Until one morning the sky cracked open. A roaring hum shattered the still air, and people rushed out of buildings, shielding their eyes. A silver ship, sleek and quiet, descended above the plaza. The Hearthlight. Vera stared, frozen. Her heart raced. From the ramp, soldiers poured out, but not the kind who burned cities. These wore peace armor, no weapons drawn. Medics, engineers, Earth's forgotten promise. And at the edge of the ramp he appeared. Connor. Alive, wounded, bruised, slower, but alive. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They simply stepped forward, one by one, placing hands on their hearts, heads lowered. No training, no plan, just pure, silent respect. Vera stepped through the crowd, her baby clutching her shirt. She stopped in front of him. He looked at her, eyes tired, lips trembling. "You came back," she whispered. He gave a small nod. "You kept walking." Then he knelt, not as a soldier, not as a hero, but as a man who finally saw what he had built. Not a rebellion, a future. In time, Sector D-17 became known across the galaxy, not as a slum, but as the first quiet flame settlement. And in every corner of it, from the healing centers to the Starfield schoolhouse, one sentence was written on every wall: protect what comes next. Because legends don't always shout, sometimes they whisper.